What I'm going to be attempting today may be pushing the boat out a little bit too much. It could be a little bit out of my skill set, and that's because I'm going to be attempting to do some traditional animation. And what I really mean by that is I'm just going to be trying to do some animation using the classic pencil and paper, and then maybe adding in some watercolours later on, but we'll just see how the first stage goes. I have purchased a very cheap light board off Amazon so that I can trace, because that's going to be very important. And my plan is simple. I'm essentially just going to try and do something easy to start off. So I'm just going to begin with a run cycle, essentially. Just going to have a character running across a landscape with a very simple background that's probably not going to move. I feel like this could go either very well or very poorly, but there's no harm in trying, and if nothing else it'll at least give me a bit more of a feel for movement of characters. And one of the main things I'm sort of worried about is the speed at which the character's going to move across the screen, because it could end up being like the character is going way too far with each stride, or it could end up like he's doing some sort of slat walk. So yes, without further ado, it's on, the light board is on if you couldn't tell. Okay, so I don't understand much about animation, but what I think is the correct way to do it is by drawing out keyframes first. Each one of these is a keyframe. So the main job for now is I'm just going to start with the full character in the frame, and then we'll see where we go from there. Right, there's a couple of clear hurdles so far. One, I can't draw well enough. And then the second one is that I can't see the light board bright enough because I think my surroundings are too light. So I'm going to pull the blind down and see if that makes a difference to how well I can see. Okay, so it isn't working at all, but I've searched up some techniques to hopefully make it easier. So I should have really read this sheet, but when you're doing a running cycle, there's contact poses, there's an in-between pose, and then there's a kick-off pose, and then there's an in-air pose. So I think the technique they were saying for beginners is you've got to map out where the feet are going to make contact with the ground, and you draw all of those first. Then fill in the bits where the character's going to be sort of mid-air, if you like. And then you can fill in the in-between phase and the kick-off phase. And then hopefully that will make it slightly easier. So I think actually what I might want to do is I might want to go onto a completely separate piece of paper. I might want to draw out all 4 stages, because clearly my figure skills aren't good enough to recreate the same model over and over again if I don't have a reference for it. Okay, I've had a couple more revelations. Number one, I'm not going to make it a person because I can't draw figures, and I was finding the arms really difficult, so I've just decided to go for a blob with legs. I've stylized him a little bit. I've given him a nice bucket hat and some Wellington boots. This is the contact, this is the in-between, this is the launch, this is the mid-air. I'm a little bit happier now though that I've got a plan, so now I just have to execute it. I'm afraid I'm going to have to make it dark again. So I'm back a couple days later. I've been filling in some of the backgrounds. I've still got to complete that. I think what's going to happen when I try and turn this into like a frame by frame thing is that my tracing won't have been good enough and all of the lines are going to sort of wiggle about a little bit. For now though, I've just got a couple more backgrounds to copy in, so we'll do that now. So there we go, we have finished the background stage, and now it's time to take a picture of all of these from top down, put all of those photos onto the computer, and then I'll go into Photoshop and I'll try and line up each one and make it a frame. Right, so I'm now down here at the computer. I've got all of these images here, as you can see. So what I need to do now is I need to go into Photoshop and then I'm going to try and line them up. So you can see here, if I put down the opacity of this layer, then I can see the layer behind, and then I can just line it up nicely. This is probably going to be quite a painstaking process, but okay. So it hasn't turned out great. It hasn't turned out terribly though. So there clearly needs to be a frame in between the leap and then the contact with the ground, because it sort of like runs and then it teleports and then it runs and then it teleports. There are places where I've messed up, like part of the bushes in the foreground sort of disappears and then regrows halfway through. There's a lot we can learn from this. Okay, so there we have it. It's going dark now. I just thought I would try tracing over the frames that I've drawn out using Photoshop, so doing it computerized. And you can kind of see that it was getting slightly better. I added in that missing frame between the highest point and the next contact, and it looks very slightly smoother. I think I messed up which leg is in the foreground and which leg is in the background. So instead of looking like the legs are crossing like this, it kind of looks like it's just like hopping along with the same leg in front each time. I just thought I'd throw myself in at the deep end and see if I could actually do anything and just see how far I had to go. And I think I have learnt a couple things. I have a bit of a better understanding of how bad animation can go if you don't have a grasp of movement, I guess. But there you go, I'm going to end this video here. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe, otherwise I might try and animate you, and you don't want that, because who knows how that's going to turn out. Okay, goodbye everyone. Look, if I just like back off this way, I can just fade into the light. Oh!